Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Drew with SexyNerdScience, eating some pizza at the pizza party.
Pizza party! And this is Josh. Hello there.
And this is Dale. Hi. Greetings.
Poke ball.
Tasha, the chicken was subpar, but the pepperoni was fire.
Pepperoni's awesome.
We're here for another live stream for you, and
At a pizza party this time.
yeah, we're doing pizza party. Sorry, I'm reading comments and stuff. Yeah, I know if we do that, no one will see us, but they will see the intro. So if we give it like 10 seconds, 30 seconds before we start, just stay black on the stream and then do the intro. We'll be good.
Yep.
Yeah, I know it seems short, Mom.
Our video intro is shorter than our regular intro.
No, it's regular intros is the same length for season 4.
Is it really?
Yep, we didn't do any extra intro.
Well, that's right. My voice is recovering.
It wasn't
It wasn't your voice recovering. It's that we didn't do it.
recovery, Josh.
Okay, so first thing, did you guys hear about the William Shatner Christmas album?
I have not heard about the William Shatner.
It is hilariously good, I would have to say, because
Shatner impression?
me?
I don't know.
No, I thought Drew was just trying to be a Shatner.
Wait,
no,
no.
I have not heard about the William Shatner Christmas album.
No, that's not what.
Yeah, he tried to do like a Sean Connery.
That's what it was. Sean Connery. I mixed them up. That's my fault.
One of them sounds like you're talking with a mouthful of spit.
No. William Shatner's there's someone on the plane. Someone on the wing.
That's how it is. He's talking during the thing, so he's like, he's saying that talking.
No.
Exactly. That's how this album is.
Open sleigh.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't heard about it.
It is hilarious.
Ring ting.
I definitely recommend checking that out. He posts on Twitter. You can still buy it on like Amazon and all that stuff, but
Tasha said that's been a thing and that he's a good singer.
He has other albums. Oh, I didn't know that. I heard it on the radio, so I thought I'd bring it up because Shatner's kind of like
the day Christmas music starts playing on the radio, Dale's radio is tuned to Christmas music
constantly. Oh, so this is hilarious, right? So we have 100.3, which is just Christmas from like the day after Halloween until now, or until Christmas night.
Until January 1.
No, until December 26th. And as soon, so I turned on to Josh. Do you remember 98.7 amp radio?
Yeah.
So we had amp radio for a while, and that was like regular hip hop, pop music. That's just the standard, whatever. And that was gone on the day after Halloween. It was just Christmas music again. It was the Rudolph Network. Hilarious, and that's where I heard the William Shatner music.
The Rudolph Network.
Yeah, the Rudolph Network, which I thought was a good name.
Is that what they call it, like all the time, or
no? They never had Christmas music prior to this, or their main thing was like pop or rap or anything like that, and they just switched to Christmas music for no reason. I don't know why.
This is Christmas music, Dale.
Well, no. Normally we just have the one station or like an AM station or something. This one we had like a few different stations that did it. People want part of that pie, Drew.
They do. There's a lot of people that really enjoy Christmas music early. And working in retail, I mean, it's literally a few days before Thanksgiving, they start the Christmas music.
I saw a meme that was The Shining, but it was like Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, and then it was the I can't remember her name, the actress, but her in the bathroom hiding, and it was retail employees everywhere at Christmas time.
Yep. It's insane. I probably hear that song 3 or 4 times a day. It's never like there's some really good Christmas albums out there. Like Michael Bublé's Christmas album is fantastic. Like I love listening to that. And so I'll listen to that all the time. Hope you guys like the show here. Dum, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. Okay. It's getting a little warm eating all this hot pizza.
I thought you had a Puma on your shirt. I was like, Josh, that's a big Puma shirt.
It's an Oakley on my shirt. I don't know what that looks like. This is one of my golf shirts. I'm fat. I worked. So let's kind of just jump right into it, I guess. So starting off sexy news, Black Friday weekend, lots of stuff going on. Again, working in retail, I worked so hard. Like,
you worked tons of hours, didn't you?
The hardest Josh has ever worked.
Probably not. I don't know if it's the hardest I ever worked. There was one time, so a couple years ago, I saw like me and my dad and a couple of people took 39 bus benches from
Hi,
Bellevue,
Melissa.
and like basically had to find all of them in Bellevue and put them in the back of a truck and then like dump them out. That was probably the hardest like physical labor I've ever done in like one full day. But I mean, I was walking so much. I was on my feet. We just had constant people. Like I got to Walmart at about 3:30 and I didn't have to be there till 5. I just wanted to go in early to make sure everything was going good, and nothing was going the way it was supposed to go, because of course not. And sales started at 6, so I had to go to all 3 of my stores before 6 to get everything started and working at all 3 of my stores. And from 6 o'clock until midnight, we were just setting up appointments, dealing with customers, setting up phones, just the whole time. And then Friday, it was 9 to 9 was when we could activate the phone. So we set up appointments throughout the weekend, and we literally had 2 customers apiece every half hour from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. to set up phone activations. And like we fell like 3 hours behind. And then sometimes like I'd go into a store and I'd like just try to rock out as many phone activations as we could, and then we'd catch up. And then like just before the end of the night,
how many stores you go into?
I had 3 stores. In one day on Friday, we did 145 activations.
Oh, wow.
Day, which is more than I've ever done. Like, for instance, when I worked for AT&T, our district that was composed of like 7 to 10 stores didn't even do 145 line activations. So like it was one of those things where like in my 3 stores, we covered more phone activations than an entire district, what we used to do at AT&T.
But
so
you have to give your stores a little leg up because you guys do multiple services, so that at least triples your saleability, the ability for sales, because
correct.
We have the Verizon, 3 major carriers.
Sprint.
So I mean, your 3 districts or your 3 stores are triple the districts at least.
It's just like it felt like there wasn't enough time in the day to do all the activations. And I mean, I've been Black Friday shopping before. I've been Thanksgiving Day shopping before, because that's when like after Thanksgiving specials start. And it was constantly busy, open to close, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the whole day.
So I want to touch on that real quick.
And I sold out of every iPhone we had too at all 3 of my stores.
That's pretty good sales. I want to touch on that real quick because I had mixed reviews from people for Black Friday shopping and you know, Thanksgiving Day shopping. Obviously, there's a big sort of hatred or so for businesses that are open on Thanksgiving, or you know, really early Black Friday or late Thanksgiving Day. I mean, how do you guys feel about Thanksgiving Day shopping / Black Friday shopping early in the morning?
You know my personal opinion, or
I want your professional opinion.
Well, professionally speaking, we're in sales, so the one store that shows up on Thanksgiving while everyone's closed is going to dominate in sales, unfortunately. So, like that's kind of the thing where, like, from a sales point of view, like if one person does it, we all have to do it. Otherwise, we're going to miss out in competition wise. I honestly, personally think that, you know, I was.
Let's do this 2 ways. Are you about to give your personal buyer opinion? Let's do that. Let's do your personal, like, professional opinion and then your personal opinion as a consumer.
So, personal opinion as a buyer, because I didn't really do any Black Friday shopping last year. What I did is I went to Nebraska Furniture Mart November 5th and bought everything I wanted to buy for the entire month, because what they do is their deals start November 1st, and if they come up with a cheaper item on Black Friday, they'll honor that price for you and credit it back. And honestly, if you're a business and you don't want to lose sales on those holidays, you've got to do something like that. And it makes things so much easier. And honestly, so Nebraska Furniture Mart was not open on Thanksgiving, like when all the rest of the people were, because they were doing something like that. So I think that's the way to do it. I really don't like working on Thanksgiving. I wanted to watch football all day, and I only got to watch the Lions lose, and then that was it.
Dale, go ahead.
So I don't work in retail. I worked at the airport. That's the closest to, customer service I really got to, which we had very little. But I do understand that two ways of looking at it. I do understand that it makes majority of the money for the businesses and whatnot, or not majority. It makes a good chunk of money for the businesses. But at the same time, I understand being home and waiting for my sister or my dad to come home on Thanksgiving, being like, okay, Thanksgiving's busy. We have to spend time with family as well. I personally don't care either way. It doesn't really affect me. I don't go shopping on Black Friday. I don't go shopping on Thanksgiving. My family usually, I see them a lot, so I don't need to see them, all the time. If we, like Shannon, actually, we went to her house on Wednesday because we knew she wasn't going to be able to make Thanksgiving. So we already, we didn't care if she came or not, but she ended up getting off early and coming to see us. So to me, I don't care if people work on Thanksgiving or not. I understand the appeal of why. I understand the appeal of why not. So I'm gonna say, like, I'm mid-5, I'm middle of the road. I don't care either way.
So, I definitely have mixed feelings about it too. I'm kind of in Dale's boat. My issue is with people getting mad at shoppers for doing it, because the shoppers are not the ones that control it. The shoppers are out to get the best deals. I guarantee if somebody practiced this or, chose this practice, say they closed on Thanksgiving Day because they don't want to pay time and a half. With that money that they save at all their stores for paying time and a half on Thanksgiving, they could drastically discount a product on Black Friday farther than competition. And then they could if they did that and said, okay, for instance, the iPhone's going to be 75% off on Thanksgiving Day, but on Black Friday a different store was like, well, it's going to be 90% off because of all the money we're going to save for not having to pay people on Thanksgiving. It'll be 90% off for Black Friday. I would wait till Black Friday. The deals drive it to the point where, and that's just a weird way of thinking about it, I guess. I understand what you're saying is the deals, whoever is open first is going to get the best money or, make the best money, but it's not really about that because they could drastically reduce the price even further on a different day and change the status quo. I mean, those deals are available. It's not based on the day because first of all, Black Friday is on a different day every year. Besides Friday, it's on a different date of the month. So it's not like it's something that's set in stone. So yes, the companies are the ones who obviously set the bar where they're going to set it, but they also have the power to dial it back and do that. But I don't think that people should get mad at shoppers for trying to get the best deal. Like I said, I would much rather go out and get the best deal on either day as a consumer. Now, obviously, retail, it sucks, but knowing that and having been in sort of Josh's position as far as sales or customer service goes, you got to know that there's always going to be a market for things on every day of the year, no matter what it is. So, you just got to think about it that way.
I have to say with that, Drew, is with people, I think the customers do drive a large portion of why the businesses stay open. Because I remember when I was younger, we would have people come over to my house to use the potty or, use the bathroom because they went to Target and slept out overnight. And that's because Target was right across the street from my house when I was younger. And so it was one of those things where people would stay out. Or, go as soon as, they were done eating, they would go camp as soon as possible. And so I think what they did is the stores kept opening earlier and earlier. And finally, they're just like, let's just do it on Thanksgiving Day because the people are already taking the time off to go do this. So I think it has a larger impact from the consumers than you think it does. But I really don't know. I really don't.
So from a numbers standpoint too, we were 1,500% growth just in our wireless sales on average year over year this year. And if you look out over like the last couple of years, because sometimes the specials aren't always as good as they have been this year, we still were, in the couple 100% growth. So 200-300% growth just consistently over like the natural trend that we were going. So we definitely exceeded expectations for this deal. But I think next year, after talking to a manager for Walmart, a lot of the people didn't like waiting in line for 4 or 5 hours just to make an appointment, just to come back and wait in line another 4 or 5 hours to get the phone activated again. Like, why make an appointment if that's how long you're going to spend in line? And I totally agree. So one of the things I wish we would do is I think we should start, sooner. It's one of those things where we could just November 1st, we know it's going to be a big shopping month. So start November 1st, keep the deals going all the way through, skip Friday or skip Thursday when the holiday is, and then just keep it going on.
Well, that's what I'm saying is you can, like you said, you could start it November 1st, or you can start it, the weekend of Thanksgiving, not even Black Friday, or, maybe even Black Friday at 4. You give everybody time to they can start Black Friday shopping at 6 in the afternoon. That gives people time to get up at a regular time and get places. Those people are still going to want to go out, but the companies are going to dictate whether or not people come out.
The consumers dictate it too, though. I think that's what Dale was saying. Like, it's not just the companies.
The companies doing it for the money, and the money comes from the consumers.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that, but the consumers only go where the best deals are. And if your best deals start at 6 p.m. on Friday instead of 6 p.m. on Thursday, if you can undercut and start the next day, you're going to get more traffic, even though it's the next day.
But that's assuming you're paying out time and a half. Which
you don't even have to think about that. You could just say, even if I cut another 10% off of the sale, you're still gonna, if you sell enough and think of plan enough ahead as far as inventory goes, you can still make hand over foot more than the competition, even if you start the next day.
Yeah.
And then that can start the trend going back, is like, okay, if you wait longer, you might get a better reward.
Yeah.
And as opposed to going earlier and getting a better reward, because the only reason that's only hurting the people who have to work on those holidays, But that being said, my biggest point was, I don't think you should get mad at consumers. They're just following what's available to them to get the best deals.
I think hate them both, consumers and the businesses.
I don't think I should be called an idiot for trying to get a severely discounted item. I just don't.
Stupid.
It's your fault that I didn't get to watch other football games.
Oh, I didn't go shopping at all.
I did. So the other thing that came up that was pretty big for everybody, Cyber Monday, which is, I think,
A better
almost
holiday.
better than Black Friday.
Well, definitely.
That's when I bought all my stuff.
But that's again, waiting for better deals. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people who are smart and tech savvy and know about things like Cyber Monday and how to shop online and things of that nature wait for Cyber Monday. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, it's one of those things where going out and buying these products, I had customers that stood in line for 6-7 hours for phones, and then I had a person walk up Saturday night that's like, hey, do you have any more of this phone that everyone waited in line for? And I just so happened to have one because one of the appointments, didn't come in, and they ended up getting a phone too, and they didn't have to wait in line at all. They were just a walk-up customer. So it's one of those things where I think it's a really good thing to just honor those deals longer. If you start before Thanksgiving and you end after Thanksgiving and you don't price match and do all those sorts of things, then even if you price match and make it on the consumer, so the customer has to then provide evidence that, hey, you guys offered this on Black Friday at a lower price.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to say earlier, is that you'd said we scheduled 9 hours or 12 hours of appointments, 9 to 9, every half hour for that, and somewhat long and somewhat short. I would have just said, hey, if we're 3 hours behind, the last 3 people just come in a different day, and we'll honor it, but we won't make you rush or stay here till 11 o'clock at night to get it taken care of.
We definitely were booking, we booked all of Friday up and then had all of Saturday booked up and only had some spots available on Sunday. It got to the point where on Sunday, I had people from Saturday that got bumped to the next day, kind of just like that. And we had to triple up, quadruple up on per each order in order to catch up. I don't know. It was just, like I said, it was one of the first times I've ever done one of these things for sales on Black Friday where it was that big of a deal. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing it. We made a ton of money. I'm really excited to see those commission checks for my employees because I want to make sure that they made a ton of money. And then to touch on Bobby's question here about no one was really buying any food products on that weekend. So I know electronics, for instance, they set up a lot of their stuff like the TVs, the prepaid phones, everything else. They were actually in the food aisles, and they would set their lines up over there and have their inventory set up over there because they were counting on a lot of people not buying food. So I for the most part, grocery was shut down all of annual event weekend, which started Thursday and ended Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would, and a lot of beef wasn't being purchased either. I mean, you probably you have a lot of people buying turkeys and hams. As far as that goes, but beef sales are probably down anyway.
I got really excited because I was going to make myself and my family a nice ham on Sunday. So Sunday morning before I got to work, got out the crock pot, put in some brown sugar, threw in the ham, threw in a bunch of pineapple. By the way, pineapple on pizza, disgusting. Pineapple on ham, fantastic.
We've had this conversation before,
I know.
And we all agree.
Yes. So
We all agree.
Put all the pineapple in the crock pot with some more brown sugar, and then put the lid on it, and then low and slow for 6 hours. And except someone turned my crock pot up to high, so it didn't go low and slow for 6 hours.
You did?
High? No, it was on low, and I was yelling the phrase low and slow. Whenever anybody would talk to me, I was like, low and slow, for no reason. And
nobody likes Hawaiian.
Bobby, I like Hawaiian.
Hawaiian's disgusting.
You're disgusting.
This is pepperoni with extra cheese and chicken and buffalo sauce, buffalo chicken pizza.
Buffalo chicken's delicious.
We ended up, I got home after work, and my dad's like, yeah, your thing's been set on high for this whole time. And I was like, why did nobody turn it back down to low if everyone noticed that it was on high? He's like, well, we didn't know you wanted it like that. And I was like, I've been literally saying low and slow all day. Got home to just this dried out, gross mess of a ham and had to throw literally my entire ham away. I was very upset.
I used to like Hawaiian when I was an infantile weeb, when I didn't know what good food tasted like.
That's true.
And also, I'm pretty sure I picked that shit off anyway.
I did notice when I was younger that like I used to eat like ketchup or hot dogs with like Heinz 57 sauce on them. And I tried it recently as a grown adult, and I almost threw up.
Yeah, I used to eat steak with ketchup. Does that make me any better of a person when I was a kid? No.
Does it make you less of a person?
No. Yes, it does. If you eat ketchup with steak, you're some sort of fucked up.
What about like a meatloaf?
Well, that's different.
That's not a steak.
It's not a steak, Dale.
Yeah, that's a ground.
If you cook
beef.
a steak perfectly, you shouldn't need anything on it. The only thing I've ever put on steak was A1 steak sauce.
I was like, I don't like steak.
Even it is.
There's a lot of steak purists that are like, you put A1 steak sauce, you ruined a steak.
Yeah, it's the only reason The only reason I eat A1 steak sauce is
propane only. What was that saying for him?
What?
Yeah, propane.
Yeah, he's like.
I just realized that I wasn't talking to you, Bobby. I was talking about Bobby from King of the Hill.
God damn it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobber. So the only reason I eat A1 steak sauce with steak is because I like the taste of A1 steak sauce. So typically I'll put it on the side and dip my finger in it and lick it off as like a chaser for my steak.
You guys are weird.
Chasers. Let's follow this story up with our next story.
Yeah. Let's go. What's going on? Sexy news. Anything?
Well, I wanted to actually just go to the science news to talk about the Mars landing.
Well, I didn't want to get there yet because we missed out on some other science news last week that I completely spaced off. The kilogram got redefined.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Anybody care about that?
Well, yeah. I didn't click on any articles. I saw that, but I was confused.
Like all of the SI units right now are now defined by universal constants, essentially.
Yep.
So like the amount of time that a cesium atom can vibrate is this unit of time, you know?
Yeah, but that I thought that's always been that way.
It hasn't always been that way. Like it was like arbitrary things. Like back in the day, like a meter was not like the distance of something. Like a meter was just some arbitrary length.
I thought a meter was the
half life. On steak is okay.
I thought the half-life, it was 1 over the half-life of a cesium atom. Is a 1 meter. What's the wavelength or something?
So right now what it is it's the distance traveled of a photon. It's basically taking the speed of light constant and taking 1/300,000th of that.
What's the shelf life of a seasoning?
Cesium atom. So right now meters are described by how far light can travel in a certain amount of time. And it is based on the vibration of a cesium atom. So the frequency is the vibration of cesium. So that's how we define a meter. But it wasn't always that. It was like back in the day when a foot was literally like, this is my foot. That is going to be my arbitrary length for foot. And then use that as the imperial units. Metric units were no better. They were just in base 10 for a while. So people use them a lot more.
Aren't they still in base 10?
They are, but they are now defined not in reference relationally to something else. They are defined as like a universal constant. So technically I could tell an alien that, hey, this thing equals 1 of our meters, and then the alien could be like, oh, okay, like I can clearly observe that with my own experiments, I guess, and find out those things. So it's more universal that way. But a kilogram used to literally be like, hey, there's this hunk of metal that we kept in France, and that weighed 1 kilogram. And then like 100 years after that, we made a bunch of copies and replicas of it, and we're like, okay, now we have 5 of them, and these all weigh 1 kilogram. And they'd get back together every once in a while and like rematch them up to see like how they are weighing the same. And due to like the fact that they are corroding and some of them are gaining dust, they're actually diverging. So none of them are staying consistent.
What's heavier, a kilogram of steel or a kilogram of feathers?
Heavier?
Yeah.
I mean, depends where you're at.
No, I'm saying kilogram is
kilogram. So
kilogram is mass, where weight would be a force applied.
Yeah. So, but again, a kilogram now is defined. So what they did was kind of some weird math, and I put a couple videos on SexyNerdScience for it if you guys want to go back and watch it. But they basically took a Planck length, which took our understanding of a kilogram to calculate and approximate the Planck length, and then they found some closer approximations of a Planck length, and then just made that the constant, and then now they multiply that back through using E equals mc squared, and now they can have a direct correlation between engineer, noun, one who gets excited about things that no one else cares about. That's not true. Physicist, not an engineer.
Is that your Overwatch screen in real life?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I really like the fact that they finally made the kilogram an SI unit. So now all of our standard measuring units are based off of SI units, which are universal constants and are the same everywhere.
It's a Sports Illustrated unit?
Yep.
Nice. All right. Well,
so that happened last week that we didn't talk about. But is there any nerdy news that anybody wants to talk about? I'm going to go see Wreck-It Ralph tomorrow.
Nice.
Yes.
No, I mean,
we talked about the new Harry Potter movie, right?
Yes, we did last week.
Daniel did not like that movie.
Really?
I thought it was phenomenal. Me and Amanda thought it was great. Amanda did not like it. Or Daniel did not like it.
Well, I really liked it. I thought it was... I've been seeing a lot of like comparisons made between like it was because of like the shocker at the end. A lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's the Empire Strikes Back of Star Wars or of Harry Potter," and I was like, "Empire's ranked as like one of the top Star Wars movies." I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Listen, it's not about the quality of the movie. It's about the big reveal at the end.
It was
I disagree. I like the quality of the movie.
I know. I mean, the quality of the movie was probably phenomenal, but the comparison Empire,
because
the big ending reveal.
That was that guy.
Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader.
Nerdy news. I don't really think I've been any. Amanda just got a new computer. Is that kind of nerdy?
Amanda just got a new computer?
Yeah.
Another Mac?
She got a Mac. She got a 27-inch
iMac.
The one that you have, like it's one solid piece.
Yeah.
So she got that.
The AOI all-in-one unit.
Sure. It's a 4.5 gigahertz. Has 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and I think it's a 3 terabyte Fusion drive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then the video card was a Radeon 545 or a 550.
Probably still sucks for gaming, but it's probably really good for Illustrator and Adobe Office.
Do you really need that much like power to run photo editing equipment?
It's not the usually it's the startup time for the photo itself, and then it's while you're editing stuff, you have to be able to play back stuff. In order to play back, that needs a little bit more processing power. So the processor needs to be pretty good, and then you need to have a lot of RAM in order to render certain functions as you're working on them.
Times back and forth. I guess it makes sense. I mean, it's definitely
what Macs are really good at. I mean, yes, you can make a couple Hackintoshes that do better.
I was like, my computer can do better than that computer that you just bought.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I'm not saying anything.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Now, Dale and I have been streaming a lot. Josh probably needs to at least pretend to care.
I do care.
Josh,
you guys literally are like on the weekend where I'm like dying. You're like, "Oh, I haven't talked to Josh at all," and I literally worked through my pair of dress shoes. Like my heel on my dress shoes came completely off because I was on my feet working.
That's because
you should stop working and start streaming. Maybe that's the issue.
I need to. Let's start getting us paid to stream. We'll talk about that later.
No, Dale and I've been streaming a lot. Just having fun. A couple different games. I've been doing Ring of Elysium, which I think we talked about a couple weeks ago or last week, whichever. And then Overwatch, Dale and I have been doing together.
If I stream, I'm going to stream Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't know how to stream Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu with the Switch.
You probably would have to do video out to your PC somehow. But there's all sorts of smaller.
I think I could Gamecast it through the Xbox.
No.
Yeah, they're talking gibberish.
I know.
No, I don't think you could Gamecast it because the TV input needs to be a TV.
Got my little Pokemon.
How's that going? Besides, as far as we talked about it a little bit last week.
Back into Pokemon Go. I still don't care about Pokemon Go, but with this being able to catch get candies and then be able to transfer those Pokemon and get candies and Let's Go Pikachu, pretty helpful there.
Nice.
So
that's pretty neat.
I'm excited about that, and that's exactly how you're supposed to do the game, Dale.
Do what?
I don't know. You guys are always accusing me of cheating.
That's because you did cheat.
You did cheat in this game.
I cheated at Pokemon Go. I did not cheat at Let's Go.
You did cheat at Let's Go because you 2-player moded with the controller by yourself.
Everybody on YouTube says to do that in order to get the combos.
I think it's still cheating.
It's not. It came with the Nintendo system.
I was like, hey, I'm gonna be Josh's advocate on this. If it's within the game and you're not using any extra things to do it, it's part of the. Even if it's a glitch, you can still do it.
Yeah, I suppose, but also he's 2-player mode for a 1-player.
Do you remember what was that show in Family Guy did a skit on? It was like a Nintendo game, and you were Bo Jackson running, and you were it was like a football game.
The Madden game.
Madden game, yeah. It's a glitch by the guy, or the one character could run faster than the other characters.
Bo Jackson was literally one of the fastest running backs ever.
So no one could catch him, and so everyone's like, oh, you can't pick that guy, he's too good. Well, if you could pick him, then it's whoever picks him first.
Yeah.
Nothing, it's not cheating if it's part of the game.
Back in the day when the Rams were like one of the best teams ever in NFL Blitz, I used to pick the Rams all the time.
I used to just smash that A button in the direction of the football.
Late hits and offsides and everything. Oh yeah, it was good.
Man,
we need to.
Now I want to play Blitz.
Game.
Let's hook up the Nintendo 64 and play some old Blitz and stream that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
next week is Smash Brothers.
December 7th.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I guess it's next
that's
Friday?
Tasha's birthday.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
we got to get some.
I have the GameCube adapter pre-ordered, and then also the game. So
hopefully I can play with both the Joy-Cons and be okay with it.
I mean, you probably can. You can also probably either get the Pro controller or.
I loved, my favorite controller setup was the Wii Nunchuck and Wiimote.
Oh, then you probably definitely could play the controllers together, or the Joy-Cons together, or separated. But what, Mom? Atari, you can play. No, don't worry about that. It's just Atari.
Whoa, a lot of people watching this. Not right now.
I have an Atari, and I understand it, but that's too much. That's too much to talk about.
Back in the day when me and Dale used to play video games and get mad at each other, we'd always pull out their controller.
But that's sibling rivalry. I mean, you're not.
Is that the only thing I used to do, Josh?
Or we push the reset button, or Dale used to get really into. Dale didn't like getting ganged up on anything. So, when we ganged up on Dale, he got really upset. And,
you gangbang Dale? What?
No, we didn't. I mean,
man, this is definitely getting the explicit
Smash
tag.
Brothers.
So
smashed a controller over somebody's head.
We're
ran home and
we're getting that GameCube adapter, and then obviously I think you can do with that. You can also, I think, with the Joy-Cons and everything, you can do 8 people per console, like you could with the DS link up.
Yeah.
They had it at the CSCC, Colorado Springs Comic Con.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, they had the 8 people Smash Brothers on.
Yeah, but that wasn't the new one, right? Yeah. They had the brand new Smash Brothers game
on, not the brand new not the one coming out.
Oh, no.
But they had
GameCube, or no, Nintendo 64.
They had that too as well.
Yeah,
they had the Wii one.
I had this Super Smash Brothers tournament, which was basically a 3-tier tournament for 64 Smash Bros, and then GameCube Smash Bros, or Smash Bros and Smash Bros Melee, and then Smash Bros Brawl, which was basically like a triple elimination deal.
Did you go to Cutter's brawl party, Matt Cutter's brawl party that we had?
Yeah, but
back in the day,
that was like the one that I planned was like 6 years after, and it encompassed basically all 3 games, and you had to play to win, play to win, and then it was also you restart basically.
I just hate how I think that I'm good at Smash Brothers. I really do think that I can be really good at Smash Brothers. But I've been to Comic-Con and played with some of the people at Comic-Con, and they are we're so much better than me.
We're definitely nowhere near top. We're not even in the top 99%.
No. I'm the bottom 1%.
We're definitely bottom 1%.
Oh my goodness, it's insane how good some of those guys are at Smash Brothers. And I go and I watch the videos, and they're off the screen battling each other and still in the air and throwing each other up.
I have trouble just jumping in the game, because I used to have up to jump, and then you'd have to double tap up, and I'd actually shoot over, and then it wouldn't jump, and then I'd be fucked.
I have heard though that when expert Smash players play novices, a lot of times the novices will get a couple wins in, only because they're expecting the novice to play like an expert would and do all these things, and the novice has no idea what they're doing, so it's this chaos effect where you're just I don't know how to beat this person. But
so
my mom says boyfriend Dan goes to tournaments for Smash Bros. Yeah, well, he's gonna get smashed on.
I'm excited.
Good content there, guys.
Thanks, man.
Got some nerd content going because I know we wanted to talk about some nerd stuff. So let's talk about Insight here, because that was some of our sciencey news.
Touchdown!
There's a lot of people that saw our touchdown thing and thought I was talking about sports, and I wasn't talking about sports. I was talking about science.
Did you ever follow up and see if the solar panels opened without a problem?
Last time I checked, yes, they did open up just fine, because
it took 5 hours to do, didn't it?
It sent a picture of them open.
Okay.
A 360 image, I thought.
Yeah.
Sent out that we could all see. So now it's going to take about 5 months to do the drill.
Your mic's off.
My mic's off?
Your mic was off center to you.
Yep. So now it's going to take about 5 months to do the drilling. It's going to take a little bit of time to do the seismometers. I don't think most people know about it. Let's talk about it from the beginning. Yes. Okay. So about a year ago, we sent this into space.
I'm going to look up numbers and everything.
Yeah, I can't
Launch
remember
date,
exactly.
May 5th, 2018, 6:05 a.m.
So only 5 months ago?
Yeah, only 5 months.
I guess, yeah, we were really close to Mars these last couple months. So maybe that's why they did it. They timed it where we were close by. Because I know it can be.
Insight was originally supposed to launch in March 2016. So one of the previous launch dates may have been a year ago or whichever.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. But even then, we sent it up. It drifted through space for a little while until it got close enough to Mars. And then just on Monday is when it finally got to Mars, detached from its booster rockets, and made its final descent onto the Martian surface.
In the area of Elysium.
Plains of Elysium.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll ruin my fire for that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it landed in the Plains of Elysium, which is
instead of the Ring of Elysium,
a really low spot on the Martian surface that they think is going to hopefully be just dirt and not like any rocky material, because it's not a rover, so it doesn't have wheels to move around or anything. This is just a probe, essentially, that lands on the planet and then opens up its solar panels and then starts doing its experiments. So it's simply there to do seismograph data of Mars. It's going to get basically an internal thermometer.
I am going to share a picture of it real quick.
Ooh, sharing pictures.
I don't know if it worked.
That is it.
Yeah, but we can see that, but I don't think they can see it. So hold on. That was for us. Let's add a thing there.
Drop it pretty small, or not pretty small, but like the size of the purple bar in the.
Put it in my hand.
OBS.
So was Mark Watney on it, or did they name it anything clever for The Martian?
They did not. They named it just after. Oh, look, OBS is now on our thing. They named it Insight because it is an acronym for Inside something.
The Interior Exploration, Seismic Investigations, Geodesy, and Heat Transport Mission is a robot lander. So it's interior exploration. So it's seismic investigation. Yeah,
it's this weird.
So those who you guys can see it right now. This is not how it looked when it landed. It looked kind of like a little bit more bally with the 3 tripod legs, and it has 2 solar panels that opened up.
A robot arm.
And a robot arm that has a camera on it.
It's got a lot of robot parts.
If you see the little thing on the bottom left, that's the drill. On the bottom right is a seismometer, which is a seismic monitor that tests vibrations.
Essentially. And they said that the seismograph should be able to pick up vibrations within like the distance of a hydrogen atom. And I'm not entirely sure how that works.
I don't know how that works either.
I would love to know how that works, like how it's that sensitive.
I'd be like, because just constant movement would be like anything that the ground would do, right?
What that is, if you took off the picture, but what it is on that picture, there's actually, so the seismograph is a little tiny thing that like sticks on directly on the Martian surface, and then what you actually posted there, it has like a dinner plate top thing that goes over the outside.
I'm gonna bring it up again.
So it like is in like the wind doesn't interfere with it, and it like doesn't have anything like bumping into it from the outsides. So it's hermetically sealed in that.
So it's basically a what you call microwave cover.
Basically, like it is. So when I was watching the videos for like what it's supposed to look like, it does look like it's one of those microwave covers, but it just like puts down on there, goes, and like
this is a good picture of it right here. The thing that's on top of it is actually the cover.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So it's very interesting, and it's supposed to like be like fully sealed. So like there's no air that gets in there. No debris can hit it from the outside. So it should just be.
I just feel like what Dale was saying, like the movement of the planet would have to generate some sort of even minute movement.
So they do want that. They want to get the wobble. They want to know how much it moves, and they also want to know what its inner activity feels like. So with that wobble, what you're going to be able to get is so if you were to take an egg, for instance, and you take a hard-boiled egg, I wish we should have, now that we have video, we should really be doing these things. If you take a hard-boiled egg and you spin it, it'll actually spin up on its top like a top, and it'll rotate pretty well. But if you take a non-hard-boiled egg and you spin it, what it'll do is it'll kind of wobble as it spins. And the reason why it wobbles is because the liquid on the inside moves around. So its axis of rotation is constantly changing, and that's what gives it a wobble.
Okay,
but
I got this.
Will spin without any real wobble. So
this is by Mokami Kids. So they have a raw egg and a hard-boiled egg. For those of you guys who are listening, or if we're not thing, he's gonna spin both of them. I don't know. Is that how slow you're supposed to spin it?
I don't know. Ours is delayed, so I mean that should be the raw egg there, right? The first one was raw, and the second hard boiled. You shouldn't have to spin it too crazy. Yeah, so that one is spinning around pretty good at eccentric tight axis. So, it's just one of the things that you notice about things that are liquid in the center and solid in the center. Mm-hmm. So by finding that wobble out on Mars, what they'll be able to do is better guess and hypothesize whether or not the Martian core is liquid, or if it is a solid. It doesn't have is it just like crust with like a bunch of liquid on the inside and then a solid center? Or is it solid, or is it liquid on the very center, solid on kind of solid on the outside, and then a hard crust on the outside of that? I
know people with some hard crusts on the outside.
Yeah. I hope my blind science question
is good infographic actually.
Sides of planets. I cannot think of those words right now. Mantle, crust.
How hot is the core of the? No, I'm just kidding. That's not the blind science. How hot is the? What's this, Dale?
Little infographic that shows, how close we were to Mars.
Oh shit, we were real close.
Yeah.
Why didn't Musk do his little fucking test like this last March?
His rocket just launched a car into space. I don't think he gave a shit.
I thought he was supposed to put it on Mars.
No.
That's just he doesn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, he just wanted to put the car in space.
Yeah.
Hold on. Pause. Wasn't the plan that it was supposed to put a car on Mars?
No, I just think he wanted to.
No. You guys, he was like, I want to put it on Mars. That way, if we ever move to Mars, I can be the first person to go 100 and whatever miles an hour on Mars.
With all that gasoline he's bringing, all that air intake.
There's literally I'll find it.
It's an electric car, right?
I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't have been able. First of all, tires wouldn't have stayed inflated on Mars. They would have degraded pretty fast with all the solar radiation. All the interior would be messed up. I mean, there's no. So that's the other thing they're trying to find out with InSight is the magnetosphere of Mars is very, very weak, whereas the Earth has a really nice magnetosphere that can protect us from solar radiation. The Martian one is meh, but the reason why they think that is because there's no more convection going on in the core of the planet. And if there's no more convection, then they think that's why the planet has lost its magnetic barrier shielding. But if there is some, maybe it just got weak, and that's why that's what they're going to find out with InSight. That's one of the things they're going to be looking at as well. Is the
you also want to talk about the Mars Cube 1, the Marcos?
Marcos. So Marcos was a communication satellite that there's a couple CubeSats.
Talking to the mic, Josh.
Marcos was it's a series of CubeSats, if I remember correctly. Just two? Okay. Yeah. So what they're communication satellites to orbit in a very low orbit, but still pretty high up it's not a geosynchronous orbit, I don't believe. But they're supposed to orbit around, and they were going to be used for communications from our different rovers and InSight to communicate back with a higher altitude geosynchronous satellite that then can communicate back to us. So it shortened the delay time. I think there was an 11-minute delay with when Curiosity landed to now there was only a 4 or 5 minute delay from when we were talking with the satellites with Marcos. So it helped us a little bit there to kind of know how things were going on the Martian surface. Because when Curiosity landed, there was 11 to 13 minutes where we just didn't know what was going on because none of the systems could tell us what was going on. Okay, it's fallen through the atmosphere. It should be on the ground by now. We won't know for another 13 minutes.
I'm trying to look up to see if I can find a communication information on how long it's actually supposed to take,
Oh.
but I can't find that information.
Divide the distance away from Mars by the speed of light. That's how many minutes.
The car will take at least 6 months to travel the 20 million miles to Mars. I could have swore, I'm trying to find the exact quote about, because it overshot Mars, which was like a big piece of news, like a couple months after it did it. It was like, miscalculated, went way past Mars. So I'm just trying to find
But I don't think they ever wanted to crash it on Mars.
No, from what I remember, is supposed to, Elon Musk sends a Tesla car to Mars. I think
that was just the to get people looking.
Yeah.
I think it was just he aimed it towards Mars and be like, oh yeah, my thing's going to reach Mars before you. But I don't think his original plan was to crash it
toward the sun so it could slingshot around the sun, get into Mars orbit. Is what it like all of the.
I could be completely wrong, but I'm not sure. Drew, do you have a blind science question for Josh?
I don't. Do you want to get one?
I'll look for one. Yeah.
Okay. Yay. So in other news, this is kind of science-y, I guess. The climate change report came out from the Trump administration that was, surprisingly enough, very pro-climate change. So a lot of it was like, hey, come to find out there is man-made climate change and we're responsible for it, and the United States needs to change some things or we're going to be screwed. And the president of the United States basically said, I don't believe it, so therefore I'm not going to release it. But it still got released anyways. But it was the reason why it was delayed in its release was due to the president not believing in the results of his own administration's science. So the same science, I've been seeing a lot of this lately, and I think it's very accurate. The same science that was used to put InSight on Mars is the same science that was used to also say, hey, the climate's getting worse and we're to blame. You can't be like, oh, that's so cool that this rover or that this lander landed on Mars, and also be like, but I don't believe in climate change because that's not a thing either.
It's just like, what was it? Telling it's a vaccination thing, so just bear with me. But saying that you don't believe in vaccinations, but then because it's big pharma, but then also going to the doctor to get treated for literally anything else. Like you can't have one and not have the other. It just doesn't make sense logically.
Yeah. Science doesn't care one way or the other about what people think, and I think. I don't know where I was today. I think I had to have been out of Walmart, but I heard someone say, I reject your reality and substitute my own. And it was the quote from Mythbusters.
Yep.
And I just realized how much I actually hate what that means. There is you shouldn't reject any reality and substitute your own.
I think that was primarily based on the fact that if they couldn't bust a myth, they did whatever they had to make it work. So like if they couldn't blow up a car with a cell phone at a gas pump or whatever, then they did whatever they had to, i.e. wiring the cell phone directly to the gas tank and calling it to make it work.
Yeah. No, and I totally get that. And but it was just one of those things where I was like, man, this is a group of scientists that's like, substitute reality for what you want it to be. And that's the reality you should live in instead of being like...
but I don't think people actually took it that way.
I think there's a lot of people that will be like, oh, that science contradicts what I want it to believe, so therefore it's not real. Well, and pick and choose things.
Yeah, but they're not directly quoting Mythbusters.
No, that's what I'm saying. I just heard that quote and I was just like, I don't know if I believe that anymore.
Maybe that specific guy, but...
Yeah. But I thought that was something that was kind of interesting, that people were like, oh, no, climate change doesn't exist. And then they're like, but this is awesome that scientists did this thing on Mars. So like I said, I love science and I love all the stuff it does. And I was really proud of that. it's been a lot of E. coli outbreaks lately. For those of you guys that don't know, I think finally the romaine lettuce is once again.
Oh man, have you seen the National Romaine Association post?
I have not.
It's basically
national romaine anything.
It's basically the gun argument, but for romaine lettuce. So it's like first people want to take our romaine lettuce away. Romaine lettuce is killing people. We want to take our romaine lettuce away, and they're like, yeah, the National Romaine Association is really not for cracking down on that romaine regulations.
That's funny.
It was hilarious.
Speaking of the NRA, there was so Adam Ruins Everything came out with their second half of season 2, and their episode they just did was on gun control. So if you want to have, it was really funny because it was set at like a Thanksgiving.
Oh God!
And like people were talking about gun control over Thanksgiving, and I was just like, "Oh, cool! This is exactly what we need to hear." But it was actually really well done, and I think it appeals to people on both sides of the fence. And I really liked the episode. So those of you guys that watch Adam Ruins Everything, make sure to check out Adam Ruins Everything. I believe episodes come out on Sundays. I forgot.
What was the basic gist of it? I mean, was it basically just like,
I don't want to spoil anything, but I mean, like it was really, I mean, my basic stance on gun control has always been like we need to get more information about it. Like we can't say this is going to work or this isn't going to work if we're not allowed to research it more. And so like that was basically kind of the thing. Like there's so much inconclusive data because we're not allowed to research it. But there was also some really good points brought up about the Second Amendment when it was written and the specific wording they used, specifically commas too. Like the actual wording of it when using commas when talking about doing a militia, and people's right to bear arms. So it was very interesting to see that too, but there was also a lot of things about like it took like a racial turn. So I was like, oh cool, that's the side of that like nobody ever talks about either, because like for all these gun deaths, like mass shootings come up to be like less than like 3%, and like 80% are predominantly, I mean, poor people killing each other in bad neighborhoods. And like, how are we going to stop that?
Where did mass shootings? You said mass shootings took up X amount, and then
like 3%, and then the rest, like almost all the rest of it was. Some of it was like suicides and accidental death, but then like the biggest majority of gun deaths in the United States were caused from
it's domestic
violence and things like
it's
that.
Not mass shootings.
But they did pull like the kind of the racial thing on that to show how the NRA defends when white people are using guns for like within the legal realm of it. But how when the script is flipped to African Americans, how the NRA does not really they distance
themselves from that,
and so it's very upsetting that way too. It was, I mean, like I said, it's a really good episode. It's only like 28 minutes long, so it's not like something that is going to take up a ton of time to watch, but it's on True TV.
So what was I was going to mention something about that somebody had said, with regulation comes cracking down on it, and they said basically you can't add regulations to any other amendments without them becoming completely nullified or just completely taking away freedoms. And I said, or they specifically said the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech, and I said you could though in fact make some caveats to freedom of speech in the realm of regulating them, like so for instance, if you have no credible sources for your slander or fake news or anything like that, then you mean you're not telling somebody that they can't say it, but you're telling somebody that if they don't have credible sources, then you're not going to publish it or do things that are gonna get it out. They can say them all they want, they can write them all they want, but
Well, one of the things that I really find about the First Amendment is the freedom of press. And did you know what institution actually gives out press credentials?
in our line of work, there's no checks and balances. So, I mean,
We usually email the cons press department and try to get some press badges. That's how.
I'm talking about like if you were going to an event and be press at an event.
if you're going to
Like a White House event?
or any national,
Any public event.
no, who does correct?
Nobody.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Nobody can give you the credentials whether or not you can write about whatever you want. And that is, in my opinion, one of the reasons that I love the First Amendment. Yes, I like freedom of speech, but I think freedom of the press incorporates freedom of speech inside of it. The freedom to write about whatever you want, and it's like what you were saying is that you don't have to post it, you don't have to publish it anywhere, but I can say it. I can do it.
Exactly. Which is what I'm saying is people say, you can't add regulations to the Second Amendment for gun control and say, okay, you can't have more than 50 guns, or you can't have.
I don't know where that statement comes from though, because like in Dale's situation and like even what you're talking about, we add things to the amendments all the time, usually handed down legal precedences from the Supreme Court. So if you look up Supreme Court rulings, you can actually filter the Supreme Court rulings, whether they were on a case for the First Amendment, Second Amendment. They're like, which section of the Bill of Rights did they apply to, and what did they rule in favor of?
Yeah,
that precedent.
No, I agree. The thing
is, only been like 2 Supreme Court cases in regards to the Second Amendment, whereas there's been plenty for the First Amendment and so on and so forth. So
then I'm just saying, as far as First Amendment goes, you can add regulations that you'd have to be clever about it, or not even clever about it, but just it'd have to be a well thought out conversation. Nothing that I can pull off the top of my dome right now that I would feel comfortable publishing on our in the ether of the internet. But specifically because of that, because I don't have it thought out enough, I'm not going to put it out, which is exactly what, I don't have a good enough source or a good enough idea, so I'm just not going to do it. And you could add some sort of regulation that kind of encompass that thought process. Is you can say it, but a news media shouldn't be, or a news channel shouldn't be able to publish it unless you have, just things like that.
I disagree with that. I think you should be able to post whatever you want. It's what the people listen to. I understand.
Yeah, but you writing it as a writer can take that and publish it on your own website.
Yep.
Willy-nilly. But if you were writing for a company and there's no
difference.
What do you mean?
What's the difference between writing for Fox, ABC, any of the big stations compared to me writing on a website?
Because they are an employer. An employer can trump that.
No.
Yes, they can.
No. What I'm saying is they should not have more rights or less rights than I do.
Then you go do it on your own website.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But if you're telling a company that they have to listen to, be censorshiped pretty much, then people aren't going to listen to that website because they're being censored, or people aren't going to listen to that channel.
No, I would much rather listen to a channel or a news source that has credible and completely and factual news than somebody who's just letting Joe Blow, Dale, write a shitty article about.
So who oversights the censorship?
What do you mean? Who oversights the censorship?
Well, you're saying you want people to have factual, true information.
You come with the stuff. You can do due diligence on it.
Yes, but I'm saying, what's the difference between, let's say you don't do due diligence? Who oversights saying oh, you didn't do that, you're fined, you're shut down?
I'm not saying it's a finable offense, but
that's what I'm saying is if you give the power of saying like, oh, well, this information needs to go through a certain channel or this information needs to be fact checked. If people don't like what you're saying, they can just say, oh, well, those are alternate facts. Those aren't facts that we agree with. So you're shut down. No, but nobody's shut down over it. Jim Costa still has press credentials in the White House right now.
What I'm saying is I think that there should be a check there because of that.
But who checks it?
I don't know.
Who watches the Watchmen?
That's what I'm saying is that like if you have somebody who ultimately decides that ultimately power will get corrupt.
I mean,
it might be some part of the government. And that's the whole point is the freedom of press is to write against the government. So it's pretty much government giving power to the people that is anti-government. I know it's kind of like a workaround of it, but that's the whole point of it is that you need to have, if you have somebody oversighting something, that oversight is now in charge. Regardless of what you say, what you do, if somebody says something you don't like, it's gone. We can say whatever the fuck we want on this website right now because we have the freedom of press.
Well, I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. You could post it on your own shit. We own SexyNerdScience page. We can say fucking Donald Trump sucked his own dick off.
Yep.
And
hi, NRA. It's nice to meet you. Welcome to the show.
NRA.
NSA.
Yeah. We could say whatever we want. It doesn't mean it's true. But it also doesn't mean that Project Nerd needs to publish it. Project Nerd could say fuck off because they own that media source. It's not necessarily the government; it's the media source. So
they do their own checks and balances within.
They do their own checks and balances within the media source. It's only, however, you'd say governed by saying that the companies need to do the checks.
I think that they already do, and by adding it into it, diminishes. Anytime you add something into an amendment, you're saying what you're allowed to do, where laws are saying what you're not allowed to do. So when you have the balance between those and you finite what exactly you're allowed to do and not allowed to do, then anytime there's a change in one direction, it takes away stuff you're allowed to do.
I know, but what's the laws on slander?
Well, it depends what you're posting.
Well,
so
what?
you can say literally anything about anybody, but it's more of how it's going to affect. It's if you have a platform to protect somebody or to post that stuff. So you have what?
Some of the things we've said here, even just now, like could be considered slander.
That's what I'm saying.
Or actually libel, technically.
Libel, yeah.
But
slander's written, libel's spoken. But, that's a saying. So there's laws against slander and libel, but there's no, you could literally write any fake news article, and then if you had the means to sue on it, then you could sue on it.
So, what about the people who post, I don't know what they're actually called anymore, Inquirer, the people who do, aliens landing?
So long as it's satire and it's done satirically,
the Onion posts,
it's okay. And that's where I honestly, there's times where if you're going to do satire, you need to be known as satirical and
the Onion
only be satire. I will never trust anything as fact that comes from the Onion, even if they say if the Onion told me hey, if they were somebody's watching you, I wouldn't believe them because they have no credibility to say anything. It would be one of those things where you just
They're watching you, Josh.
Yeah. But if you get to certain times where they're watching me, certain times where there are people on Facebook, for instance, you have no reason to think they are doing things. They might be just trolling, but they might also be giving facts sometimes. Those people should avoid satire in that sense, unless it's clearly labeled as such.
So what about somebody like Adam Ruins Everything, or other those infographic shows who are doing like comedy or saying like, this is so absurd, but it's factually true.
And so one of the things I love about Adam Ruins Everything is everything that's said is usually cited
Exactly.
and available for fact checking where their sources came from, where that information came from. Like they're not just spouting off like what they believe to be true.
They've even done
they're just being
recants.
the middleman.
They've even done recants on bad facts. Like, I mean, they, the factual evidence that they pursued or stated was incorrect, or sometimes they're, everybody's.
When Philip DeFranco gives his personal opinion on things, he makes sure to say, like, in my personal opinion, that's a garbage person. I think they should die in a fire. Like that. That
is distanced from the factual basis of the.
Exactly. Now, granted, I think sometimes if you do too much of that.
So give me an example of something that's liable then.
Libel?
Yeah, libel.
Yeah. I mean, if I say something and it can defame someone's character or cause them personal harm, they can sue me for libel if they can prove that what I said was malicious
or untrue.
Well, I mean, but usually it has to have caused them some sort of damage.
But even if it causes damage and if it's true, then is that a problem?
No.
Like a whistleblower.
Yeah.
If it's true, then you're fine. But if it's causing damage, like even the leaking of true information, like WikiLeaks and things like that, because it causes damage or it can be potentially causing damage, and it was a violation of some sort of because it was a violation of some sort of do not talk about it kind of
clause.
What are those called? DNIs?
Do not. No, that's do not resuscitate.
No, that's it. No, I can't remember what the
non-disclosure
agreement. Yeah, NDA.
Yeah.
So with libel and slander laws already in place, do you not think those are enough to what the First Amendment gives you?
I think so, but I mean, again, we've had to rule on those kind of things.
And that's the whole point of we have a Supreme Court.
Numerous times. Like, in order for it to be slander, has to have some sort of like, what is it? Mens rea? Is that the like
mons pubis?
No, you need to have some sort of like reason No, there needs to be some sort of legal reason that you're making it a case. Like, it can't just be like, hey, this person's slandering me, and they're like, is it causing you any harm?
The action of crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to a person's reputation.
Yeah. So like you have to prove damages. If I was like, Dale is a half monkey person, like
definition of defamation is the false statement presented as fact that causes injury or damage to a character of a person that it's about.
But I think if people hear me say Dale's a monkey person, they're not going to believe me thinking that you're really a monkey person. They're just going to be like, So, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you can say that. Like, it's the people that are on the line that can say, like, hey, the Illuminati's real and George Bush is a lizard person. Like, those kind of things, they're not defamation. They're not slander simply because they're so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Bobby looked up the same definition that Drew looked up. You guys are on the same wavelength.
Oh, was there a new post?
What?
Last time I saw was Heather Stowe.
Like just right now.
My mom Bobby just posted one. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like I said, I didn't want to kind of give an example because I had literally zero time to mouth vomit it garbage out of my face, but because I didn't have any time to think about it in a constructive manner. But adding some sort of regulation to it is, I think, if it was well thought out and well crafted, it would be on par with adding regulations to gun control, is basically where I was going with that whole fucking thing about the First Amendment. Somebody said, can you add a regulation to the First Amendment and not take anybody's freedom away. Yes, you can do that. They can still say it. They still have the right to publish it on their own website or whatever. But I think there should be some sort of regulation for companies.
And I think that is taking freedom away. So we have a difference of opinion about that.
Tune in next time for...
Okay, Dale, you got a science question?
Stupid one.
Ooh, yay.
So Josh is going back to 70, 80%?
So we're at, he's at 9 out of 12 right now.
75%. So Dale, 75%. Go ahead.
So this one is about the layers of the atmosphere.
God dang it.
Wait, hold on. Haven't we done this one before?
No.
We haven't?
I don't think we have.
When we did clouds, we didn't do this?
Okay, well, if we did, he should have had a refresher at least.
I honestly couldn't think of anything else.
Just go. Let's see if I can do this.
Okay, how many layers of the atmosphere are there, and can you name them? And even like what part of what do they do? Let's throw out some words that you know.
Troposphere, stratosphere, the magnetosphere, but that's way out there. Try and remember.
Missing two big ones.
Is there a I want to say there was like a mesosphere, but
that's one.
That's one.
That's one.
And then mesosphere, troposphere, stratosphere, ionosphere.
Okay.
So
those are the big ones. There's another one called a thermosphere,
which should be the closest one, right?
Yeah. No. That one.
Trope is the first closest one.
Yeah. But I think it's like a midway between the ionosphere and the exosphere, but I'm not really sure.
I'm assuming that's where
it is
heat up and where our weather happens.
In the where?
Thermosphere.
In that thermosphere area there, where like heating and cooling being trapped.
Absorption of energy. This temperature increase is caused. Okay, so the thermosphere lies above the mesosphere, in a region in which temperatures again increase with height. This temperature increase is caused by the absorption of energetic ultraviolet and X-rays radiation from the sun.
So the layers are the troposphere is closest, then stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere, and then ionosphere. So
I did not know.
You got them all besides the thermosphere.
Well, he added was it
the magnetosphere.
Magnetosphere.
But that's further out.
I think that's like the magnetic pole.
Yeah.
For
the Earth behaves like a huge magnet. It traps electrons, negative charge, with protons, positive charge, concentrating them in two bands about 3,000 and 16,000 kilometers above the globe in the Van Allen radiation belts. These outer region surrounding the Earth were charged particles spiral along the magnetic field lines, and it's called the magnetic sphere.
Yeah, I remember that from my high altitude ballooning. Oh yeah, I remember that from high altitude ballooning because
like
I know when temperature changes, as you go up, it gets colder, and then it like stops getting colder, starts getting warmer again, and then it goes back to getting colder as there's less and less atmosphere around.
Yeah, I thought that was a dumb question. I don't know. I had it. Whatever.
I named a bunch. I just don't know them all.
Yep.
I mean, that's basically almost all of them. We can interchange magnetosphere for the exosphere, and you got 100%. So.
I think it's exactly like when we do that stupid continent or the plate one, where like there wasn't really like, depending on where you look for the definition, they're like, oh, there's only 3 layers of the atmosphere. Oh, there's 15 layers of the atmosphere.
Well, I was trying to. I was giving you like the benefit of the doubt with a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna have to wrap up here, guys. We're already at an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's quick hurry up, and we know we've been plugging this, saying that it was coming not all year, but most of the year.
No, I mean,
it's literally been all year.
Well, hold on, pause. We've been doing ours all year. We've only been doing Project Nerds for about a month. So, does that make a noise? Anyway, so we are part of the Project Nerd Podcast Patreon. If you guys like what we do and are interested, that is dropping as of like
a week ago.
Yeah. So, if you don't like us, but you like one of the other Project Nerd podcasts, I'm Not Famous, or the Nerdcast, or a couple of the other ones that are still kind of floating around, you guys can donate specifically based on what you like. So basically, there's going to be a Sexy Nerd Science tier, a Project Nerd, or a Nerdcast tier. That is going to support specific podcasts.
From what I saw, there's not actually a tier for any of those. There's a podcast tier where if you wanted to be just a podcast sponsor, you need to specify which podcast you want to sponsor.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's only for a month.
Okay, yeah.
And I believe so if you guys ever want to sponsor our podcast, you can officially sponsor our podcast through Project Nerd now. I believe it's $150 for the month to sponsor our podcast, and you will be part of our intro and outro of every podcast that we do. And that goes to help supporting us specifically. If you just want to donate money to Project Nerd through their Patreon, that still technically can go to us when it comes to going to events.
Yeah, so
the people who are on the lesser tiers that don't want to pick a specific podcast, they can get early access to streams and like different editing videos. And
so the way it's gonna go is basically once the costs are covered for the website, then we're gonna get a kickback of anything that doesn't cover the website. So if everybody's podcast gets $100 and the costs are only $200 for the year, they're going to get split the rest of the ways, 5 ways for the rest of the podcast. So it's just kind of a little work in progress. We'll figure it out as we go. It's very new, but go to Project Nerd. You can find us there on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, anywhere you guys typically find podcasts. And then you guys can get merch on Teespring. We may be switching that over to Project Nerd's t-shirt hosting site as well, just to kind of keep it all in-house. Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, all the Project Nerd Patreon tiers are Golden Girls themed. So there's a thank you for being a friend tier, which is our just digital thank you. It's $1. It is a huge thank you, gives access to any public content we share, and we appreciate all the support. The $1 a month can help get us equipment and hire talent. So even if you just want to give us $1 a month, definitely go to Patreon or projectnerd.com and click on their Patreon link there. For a $5 tier, it is the travel down the road and back again tier. It's early announcements and news. So you get site announcements, brand updates, and select content that will be shared with you first before everyone else gets to see it. So that's in our $5 tier. For $20 a month is Your Heart is True tier. And that gets you, we're sharing with you our in-house production content first, along with everything else from the previous levels. So it's early access to our production content. So when we go out and do content at Comic-Cons, you guys get early access to all of that. The next tier is $50. It's You're a Pal and a Confidant. And that is our behind-the-scenes tier there. And then we have podcast sponsors, video sponsors, and both those are, podcast sponsors only $100 a month, sorry.
Dale's pulling it up.
Thank you, Dale, for pulling it up and putting it online so everyone can see it. But definitely, yeah, patreon.com, Project Nerd. Any support you give to Project Nerd is support coming to Sexy Nerd Science. So I can't tell you guys enough how much we appreciate you guys listening and tuning in. But as of right now, we aren't making any money doing this, and everything we do is coming out of our own pockets. So it's one of those things where if you want to see us be in more places and do more things and get to meet awesome people, funding for Project Nerd is something that needs to start happening. So
a couple other things that are happening tomorrow, Friday. The first recording of my unnamed D&D podcast will be starting. That's going to be another monthly or weekly.
Is it actually called the Unnamed D&D podcast?
I am actually thinking about making that the actual name. I have not thought of a clever name aside from that. It is currently that in the Facebook group. So
Unnamed the D&D podcast.
It's definitely been tossed around as far as that. But that's going to be a either bi-weekly or depending on how things work out, potentially weekly podcast on Project Nerd as well. But it's going to be lumped in with the Sexy Nerd Science stuff because even though these guys aren't doing that, it's still part of the Sexy Nerd Science umbrella underneath of Project Nerd. So
just like all our video game streams.
Just like all of our video game streams, yeah. So it's basically in there. So support one, you support both in a sense, but you get more content from us than however that works. I think it's the same with Iggy's 2 podcasts. He's got Project Nerd and then also I'm Not Famous. So it's all in the house. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a message on Facebook like Josh is doing or was doing. He's not doing it anymore. But there you go. Send us a message and tell us what you think about us. And also, we love you. And thanks for watching.
And this is actually our last one for the season, correct?
No. We have 3 more.
Yeah.
3 more. I know we talked about this last week.
Yeah. So yeah, just to give everybody a heads up, because we're doing housekeeping stuff sort of out in the open. Our last one will be, I think it's the 19th, is the Wednesday. The 19th is our last stream.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll do one the 5th, the 12th, and the 19th. We take the 19th or the 26th and the 2nd off, right?
I thought we didn't do the 19th. We did the one before that.
Okay, so maybe we just did the 12th. Yeah, so
I wrote down 28th, 5th, and 12th remaining.
Okay, so we have 2 more live streams, which means we have 2 more podcasts. We may squeak a
Sneaky
Johnson in the 19th spot. Maybe Dale and I and Josh can get together and maybe stream some Diablo or something on PC where we all stream together, just for a fun thing to keep everybody.
We all actually have that.
So we do all actually have that, and that's why I said that. Maybe we can start fresh characters and see how far we can get in a night stream or something.
Season?
Yeah, sure. Why not? But just to keep you guys engaged, but also so we don't have to do shit like this and talk like
nonsensical things that people don't care about.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, and so do these guys. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope you guys had a good holiday.
See you guys soon.